Before Konami found success with pachinko machines and milking Yu-Gi-Oh games to death, they used it to experiment with all sorts of ideas. This included licensing some truly obscure properties, ranging from toys like CI Girls to manga that most people have never even heard of. And trust me, there were tons of these from the PlayStation era all the way up to the pre-PlayStation 3 days. One of those is Croket, an obscure game based on the manga written and illustrated by Manabu Kashimoto. This is a linear action-adventure game released exclusively in Japan for the PlayStation 2 and the GameCube. You control Croket as he travels the world searching for coins to summon a wizard who will grant his wish to revive his deceased father. The entire game is in Japanese, so I never looked too deeply into the story. I still think you can finish it from start to finish without too much hassle. The game is divided into multiple levels, and at the end of each one you face a boss. There are some platforming segments, but nothing too groundbreaking. While the game controls well, I found the camera to be stiff. The combat is also very basic, and it is easy to miss hits. If you are expecting a revolutionary combat system, you won't find it here. However, the game is still fun thanks to its soundtrack, simple level design, cute visuals, and the occasional funny moments. It is clear that this game targets a very niche audience, possibly kids in general. For some strange reasons, it reminds me a lot of Hammering Hero on the PSP. Definitely worth a try. The masterpiece that it is Mirai Shonen Conan. This is a pure adventure game based on the anime of the same name. You play as Conan, running around completing objectives initially. Once Lana is kidnapped, the game sends you to the depths of Industria, where Conan must rescue her. The game uses a lot of footage taken directly from the anime to tell its story. The game also has a pretty solid art direction and music. However, I didn't like the controls or the finicky camera. In fact, the camera is really terrible. No matter how much you try to get used to it, it is that bad. Awkward movement, getting stuck in walls, and it generally works against you. If you manage to work around that clunky camera though, I think you might actually like Mirai Shonen Conan. It is also quite short. You can finish it in less than 2 hours. As someone who watched GANTZ years ago and went through the manga, its spin-offs, live-action movies, the CGI film, and even the prequel, I always heard that the GANTZ game on the PlayStation 2 was complete ass, so I stayed away from it for the longest time. Then one day I decided to see if it was really that bad, and honestly, it's not bad at all. Not bad at all for a budget title. The game was released exclusively around the same time as the anime, so it clearly functions as a promotional material for the series and possibly the entire franchise. The story follows the same general events as the source material, with a few additions to pad out the game's length. It's a full-on action-adventure with hack-and-slash combat, shooting mechanics, RPG elements, and even some command features that let you coordinate attacks with your teammates. The music is incredible, the voice acting matches the anime's quality, and the visuals are surprisingly solid. The controls feel good too. Overall, it just comes together better than you'd expect. I'd even go as far as calling it a hidden gem worth checking out. The only real The downside is that it was released exclusively in Japan and it leans a bit heavily on decision making. Your choices directly affect your companion's trust and their performance in battle. They can either like you or hate you, and that dynamic can easily become a double-edged sword. To explain it better, you may ask someone who hates your guts to cover your back in battle, and they'll just scoff and let you rot. Whereas, if they like you, they'll listen and protect you. Honestly, if you haven't played this yet, what are you doing?
Ueki の法則倒すぜロベルト中だ
This is essentially a fighting game based on the manga and anime. You go through a series of levels taking on different opponents, but the way the game handles combat is a bit different. It is not like Street Fighter, Tekken, or Soul Calibur. It feels more like a mix between Super Smash Bros. And traditional fighters. You won't be sending your opponent flying to America, but you will be scrambling around grabbing power-ups just to stand a chance because the AI here is brutal. The game was released exclusively in Japan and still hasn't received an English patch yet. I doubt anyone from the newer generation has even heard of this anime, let alone the manga or the game itself. You can still play it without knowing Japanese since it is mostly about fighting, but understanding the story, yeah, good luck with that. Ueki no Housoku may just be a fighting game, but like many anime titles from that era, it has a genuinely great soundtrack, tight controls, and yes, there are combos, and surprisingly solid visuals for its time. If you are one of the few who actually watched the anime, you'll probably get a kick out of this. If not, then this might be a good entry point into the franchise. Man, I wish I could recommend this game, but I really can't for many reasons. Just for clarification, there are actually 3 Blood Plus games. One developed by Goichi Suda, which I haven't played, this one, and another on Java mobile phones. All 3 are completely different and unrelated to each other. Blood Plus Souyoko no Rondo is based on the mid-2000s anime and follows the demon hunter Saya as she battles monsters and the like. It's been years since I watched it, so I don't remember much of the story, but the show was good for what it was, though it seems to have faded into obscurity over time. Unlike the Goichi Suda game, where you explore, talk to NPCs, and solve clues in a style similar to Killer 7, this adaptation is a full-on cutscenes fest. To summarize the game better, it is like this: 90% cutscenes, 8% gameplay, and 2% of QuickTime events. Occasionally, you'll get prompted to press buttons during certain moments, but that's about it. What is frustrating is that the combat actually shows promise. The animations, music, combos, and visuals are all great, but you barely get to engage with them for so long. You'll fight for maybe 3 minutes and then it's right back to watching cutscenes and selecting dialogue options. I really wish they hadn't turned this into a cutscene simulator. It could have worked much better as a level-based game with some light exploration, but that never happened. It also doesn't help that the game is entirely in Japanese. It is hard for me to recommend this one. You're better off just watching the anime or trying the other game by Goichi Suda, but even that one isn't easy to play because of 2 reasons. It relies heavily on talking to NPCs, and it was also released exclusively in Japan, and there is no English patch for it yet. Oh man, how I'd kill for a pure hack and slash Shaman King with some RPG elements. But I guess the best the industry can do is give you a fighting game. However, you'd be surprised to find that this one actually tried something new for once, instead of joining the onslaught of bare bones, copycat anime fighters flooding the market. Shaman King Power of Spirit is based on the manga and anime, and it follows Asakura Yo as he participates in the Shaman King tournament alongside other shamans. If you've watched the anime or read the manga, then you already know what the plot is about. Many characters from the series are available either to fight or control, but you'll be sticking with Asakura until the very end. The best way to describe this game is a mix of fighting and RPG elements. Fights are conducted by moving your character or characters across a platform, kind of like a chess match. As you move and collide with an opponent, a fight is instantly initiated. While this creates a fantastic gameplay flow, I found the combat to be a bit stiff. There are combos to unlock and stats to upgrade, but if you are used to fast-paced combat, you'll probably find this game quite slow. Another issue is how poorly the game handles crowd control. You'll often find yourself up against two opponents at once, and it doesn't help that your AI companion sometimes seems to forget how to attack or move, just standing there taking hits. Once you're left alone against two enemies, you're pretty much screwed. That doesn't mean the game is terrible by any means, but I just think it could have been better. Still, it is quite fun if you're a fan of Shaman King and want something different from the flood of low-effort games out there. Not much can be said about future GPX Cyber Formula. It's a racing game based on the anime that aired in 1991. Since then, the series has received many video game adaptations, one of them being Road to the Infinity on the PlayStation 2 and the GameCube. As you may have guessed already, the whole premise revolves around racing to the finish line. You can either choose the story mode, which consists of a series of races you need to win in order to claim the league, or you can practice with someone else. The racing in GPX Cyber Formula is an absolute blast, fast, responsive, and paired with an absolutely banging soundtrack. What I didn't like, however, was how the drifting system takes a while to get used to. It gets even worse when you realize the game hasn't received an English patch yet. So, even if you want to practice properly, you won't be able to read the instructions. There are plenty of cars to pick up from, some of which have incredible designs that stay very faithful to the source material. Honestly, if you like the anime, then you'll probably enjoy this. Just beware of the flawed drifting system.